Call to order. I call this regular meeting to order at 7:35? 6:30. 6:35. Pledge allegiance will be led by Commissioner Cabot.
Right.
All right, Adrian, please call roll.
Commissioner Cabot,
Present.
Commissioner Dong,
Present.
Commissioner Wong, Vice Chair Rodriguez, Chair Barantes,
Present. All right, so we will go to the approval of the agenda order. Are there any objections to the agenda order? If there's no objections, state hearing none, the agenda order is approved. Hearing none, the agenda order is approved.
Great.
We will now have a few announcements by Community Services Assistant Director Matthew Morales-Stevens.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on Cable Channel 3 and our online platforms. If you wish to address the Community Services Commission during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk, Adrian Franquez. When speaking, please state your name for the record. If you wish to be added to the distribution list to receive Community Services Commission agendas, please email your request to cscommission@sgch.org.
All right, public comment. This is time set aside for members of the public to address the Community Services Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the Community Services Commission cannot answer any questions or take any action until such time as the matter may appear as an item on a future agenda. Adrian, do we have any public comments for tonight's meeting?
we do not.
All right, action item, approval of minutes. The minutes are a record of the official actions taken at the Community Services Commission regular meeting of June 2nd, 2025. Matthew, do we have any public comments on this action item?
We do not.
The time for public comment on this item is now closed. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the Community Services Commission regular meeting of June 2nd, 2025?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Why not?
I'll take the vote. Commissioner Cabot,
Yes.
Commissioner Dong,
Aye.
Commissioner Wong, Vice Chair Barantes is absent. Chair Barantes,
Aye.
motion passed by a vote of 4 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 absent.
All right. Discussion items. Commission meeting dates discussion. The commission will discuss if the August 4th, 2025 regular commission meeting will be held. Adrian, do we have any public comments on the discussion item?
We do not.
Okay. The time for public comment on this item is now closed. Discuss that now.
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. I know that this was a discussion that was brought forward at the prior commission meeting as to whether or not the August meeting should be held. The September meeting will automatically be canceled due to the holiday. So you would be skipping August, September, and then you would resume at the October meeting, which is October 6th. And
So is the reason for doing that just to give us a break, other than September?
I don't recall the exact reason that the commission brought forward, but I do recall that that was a point of discussion. So I agendized it since there was more than one person that brought it forward.
So was the
So you
August
can-
meeting initially scheduled or not?
It is scheduled,
It
so
was
it's
scheduled?
scheduled
Okay.
for August 4th.
So it was just September though?
Mhm.
I don't recall why.
In the previous year, we also skipped the August meeting, and September is being skipped because of Labor Day, which is on Monday, September 1st. And
I want to say there was a reason why we were wanting to do it.
It was, sorry, excuse me, it was previously canceled because city council is canceled for National Night Out.
Okay.
Which is on the Tuesday after that.
Is that the 5th? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't really have any discussion on, well, I will make some comments. I don't see there's any reason why we shouldn't have it, except that if staff has a lot to do the night before on National Night Out, do you have a lot to do?
So there's about half of our team that does play a larger role in it for setup and tear down. But otherwise, it's not a all hands on deck for our department since it's the police department's event. Typically, we will provide like logistics assistance for that event.
We really don't have a lot going on then either, do we?
So there's still a lot of programs going on during that
Right, I
time, and we
understand
still have
that.
our summer
Our
series.
summer programs, yeah.
But we won't have anything to report back on until October. So October, we'll do a full recap of every program and event for the summer, and then what's coming up for November, December. at
So,
the October
so what
meeting.
you're saying is that there's not going to be anything brought up to us for us to decide on and vote on?
Correct. There won't be anything major during that
Basically, we'd
time.
just be meeting for the sake of meeting? Kinda, is what you're saying?
The only
Depending on your viewpoint.
The only thing that comes to mind is the youth ambassadors. Weren't we trying to try and get that through
Yes, and
September? Or am I?
Yes, so
Wrong.
you would definitely want to push it out if the commission wanted to move forward with the youth ambassador program again in the fall, then you would want to definitely push it out probably mid to late September to allow the students some time to get situated in their classes before applying. But that would require everyone to meet. Now, at this meeting, at the time that you're doing the annual work plan discussion, you could assign one or two individuals from the commission to work with staff and allow them just to launch that campaign on their own without it coming back to the commission for final review, assuming that there's no major changes from the prior year.
There shouldn't be any changes. I think it worked out fine.
Because they weren't here on the commission when we had summers off. Not that I mind coming all year, I really don't, because I voted to do that. But having a little break doesn't hurt. If there's nothing crucial for us to be here, it might give everybody a little break this time of year would be a good idea, maybe.
I think we'd follow suit with the city council. I mean, I have no problem doing that. And then did we decide on 2 people to work the ambassador?
Not yet,
Not
not
yet,
for
okay.
the upcoming one. The last time it was,
would be good.
I believe, Commissioner Rodriguez and Commissioner Lotz.
Okay.
Well, if that's the case, you're going to need a motion, right? And I think possibly just staff could use a break in the summer. You guys have to do so much with all that's going on. And this would just be one more thing to worry about. So since we had talked about it and canceling August and resuming in October, anybody else have discussion before I make a motion? No? No? Do you want me to make a motion, Chairman?
Fine, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we not meet in August or September, and that we resume in October for our meetings.
I second.
Okay. Probably have to vote on it, though, I guess, huh?
And I'll take the vote. Commissioner Cabot,
Aye.
Commissioner Dong,
Aye.
Commissioner Wong,
Aye.
Chair Barantas,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Rodriguez is absent. Motion passed by a vote of 4 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 absent.
All right. Events and program updates. Staff to provide an update on the planning process for certain programs and events. Adrian, do we have any public comments on the discussion item?
We do not.
Okay, the time for public comment on this item is now closed.
All right. So Anna will be providing a recap on 2 of our programs, so she'll come forward and present.
All right.
Hi, Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Anna Casillas. I'm one of the Recreation Supervisors, and I'm here to present on our Cinco de Mayo recap, as well as after-school programming. So first, we're going to look at Cinco de Mayo.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Apologies. Once the PowerPoint's up, Anna will get started.
So we'll look at these updates. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So Cinco de Mayo was offered on Friday, May 2nd. You can look at some of the beautiful photos that were taken from the event. This event ran from 5:30 to 9 in the Mission District. And so we featured a variety of activities. So we had 17 artisan vendors. We had live entertainment, which included a folklorico dance group, a brilliant Aztec dance group, and our San Miguel band. We also had 3 food trucks. We had our beer and specialty drink area. We had 15 community booths and a host of some other activities. So some of the new activities that we added was a grito contest. So this happened before San Miguel band went on. We got 6 participants, but it was very entertaining. They were offered a gift card, and it was just kind of a nice addition. The crowd really got into it, so that was great. We were also able to offer a 360 photo booth. So that was really exciting. That was something new. There was also another photo booth offered by the Telemundo 52 booth. So people had 2 options to take photo opportunities. And then last but not least, we added an inflatable mechanical bull ride, as you see the little girl there on the ride. This was open to youth as well as adults. This was a big hit. There was consistently a line for it. So people really seemed to enjoy it. It was a nice added element to it. And overall, the event garnered about 2,500 participants. And then next year, our goal is to attract even more people by refreshing and adding new elements to it. So that's for Cinco de Mayo. I'm going to turn over to our after-school program. So a quick overview recap. We offer our programming at 4 different sites. So that's Coolidge, McKinley, Wilson, and Washington. And this is for 1st through 5th graders. So again, we have a variety of activities. We have homework time every day. We have biweekly arts and crafts. We do outdoor recreational games. We have our monthly highlights as well. So I want to focus on a couple of our highlights. So every month we do different activities, but I think our big one in the spring is our pentathlon event. So this is offered, it's a 1-day event on this year's Saturday, April 12th at Jefferson Middle School. But leading up to it, we have practices, optional practices at our school sites, and they get to practice twice a week for 6 weeks leading up to it. And our staff show them the different events, so they'll compete in the 50-meter or 100-meter, the 200, the softball toss, the standing free jump, and the standing long jump and the running long jump events. So they get to practice and really kind of refine their technique, learn about the different events, and so these practices are great. So for Saturday, April 12th is the day of the event, and this is open to 2nd through 8th graders. In total, we had 117 people signed up for the event, so that was great. It was a fun day. They had a DJ. We had ribbons for people when they got a award in the individual meet, and then if they overall did the 5 events and placed first, second, or third in their age category, then they got a medal. So everyone who received a ribbon was eligible to participate in the Southern California Municipal Athletic Federation, SMAF, track meet for San Gabriel Valley. So out of all these kids, we had 16 compete in the meet. They all had a really great time. It was a good experience. We had 2 of them place first place, 2 place second place, 1 in third place, and 4 in fourth place. And so they were all very excited, and they got a chance to compete in the next SMAF track meet, which includes Orange County, San Gabriel Valley, and the Inland Empire. So they got a chance to compete in that, and so that was a good experience for them. So that was our pentathlon program. Another highlight we worked on is the school district has their portrait of a graduate. So this includes a bunch of different traits that they feel will be students will need to really succeed. And so some of it is empathy, global citizen, collaboration, resilience. So we worked on aligning with some of those. So for collaboration, we did a kickball ice cream celebration with 2 of the other after-school programs. So Options and Right at School, we all came together for a fun kickball game, or actually we turned it into dodgeball. They opted not to do kickball in the end. They decided dodgeball. And then we had an ice cream celebration. So it was a nice chance to interact with the other program and work together to plan this. We also did Global Citizen. So every site decided on a country they wanted to highlight. And so 2 sites picked Japan and 2 sites picked Italy, just by coincidence, they all picked that. And the students worked in little groups on different aspects of the culture. So some of them worked on the food or games, arts and crafts, kind of information, and just general culture. And then they got a chance to present this. And parents were allowed to come, so they were very excited to do this. They were, of course, excited about the food. This was a great event. You can see these 2 photos are from the Japanese highlights at Coolidge and at Wilson. So they really went all out in their decor, and the kids worked really hard on this, and the parents were very appreciative. And so we really thought this was cool. The kids seemed to enjoy it, so we hope to bring it back again next year. So those are the big highlights for those 2 programs, and that concludes my overview. So if you have any questions, please.
Oh, just thank you for the presentation. Nothing specifically about these after-school programs, but it's been well publicized that the federal government is pausing $6 billion worth of education grants across the various, all the states really in the U.S. How does that impact the after-school programs for St. Gabriel, if at all?
Yeah, so the majority of our youth programs are funded through the general fund. There's a small portion that's received through the CDBG funding. To our knowledge, it's not impacted yet. One of them is through the LA County Supervisor's Office, so it's through their discretionary fund. So I don't anticipate that one would be impacted. But cumulatively, the amounts are not that large to where we would be needing to make drastic cuts. But to answer your question one more time, so far, nothing is impacted.
Mm-hmm. So we anticipate the after-school programs to continue for the upcoming school year.
Correct.
Thanks.
Yes. In fact, registration starts tomorrow at 9 online, so we expect the spaces to go quickly.
For the other classes, are they being offered starting tomorrow as well for the fall? Like for the swim programs and tennis and things like that? Is it all opening up?
Sorry, this is just, tomorrow is just for the after-school program. So just for those 4 sites, they'll open up tomorrow at 9.
Is that for the school year or for the rest of the summer?
For the school year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes. Parents are very eager, and this way they'll know if their child got a place, and if not, they'll have time to figure out alternative care.
The portrait of a graduate, was that posted on social media at all, what they did?
We do recaps in a newsletter, so we can send that off, but typically we just recap in our newsletter. We didn't put it on social media.
Okay. All right.
So I'm assuming we'll get a report on the after-school programs once you get started with school?
Yes. For next year, you'll also get an update on the after-school program
Okay.
for next school
I'm
year.
sure it's similar to what we've had in the past, pretty much. Matthew might know.
Yeah, so you would, so this one covered the most recent school year, and then you'll receive an update on the Summer Parks with a Mission program, which is similar to the after-school program in October, and then next year you'll receive another after-school program update.
So what's going on with kids for the rest of the summer? There isn't that much left, but swimming and what other activities?
Yeah, so we do have the Summer Parks with a Mission after-school program, which runs until, actually,
August. Right?
yes, the first week of August. And so that's over at McKinley. That's open up to any students. So during the school year, during the summer school portion, we offer it from right after lunch till 4.
Okay.
And then we have extended care when summer school is over, from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. From, I think, this week until the first week of August.
where is
So about
that
a
held?
month. That's over at McKinley.
That's at McKinley?
Mhm.
Okay. How many, do you know offhand how many kids take advantage of that?
Yeah, so we filled enrollment at 45 students. To my knowledge, 20 showed up today. So we're going through the roster to see, how many, are missing. And if it was just a one day due to the long weekend, but we do
Right,
have a
right.
wait list, so then we'll start adding those back on.
Oh, that's pretty good. Very good. Thank you for that.
Do we have a sense, just because my kids are waitlisted, do we know when they'll start pulling kids off the wait list?
Yeah, so those would be by end of day tomorrow.
End of day tomorrow? Okay, great. In terms of the swim program updates, I guess we'll get that in October to see, registration, our new system, how well that worked.
Correct. So we'll make sure to talk about registration, the new swim class structure, rec swim, as well as the adaptive swim lessons all at the same time.
So I know this is, obviously in addition to all the classes that are offered, and I know that the program director is not here today, but, it's not, a program that's meant for kids, but at the same time, we have open swim, which I love about, San Gabriel, is that there is open swim, and they expanded it to Mondays too, so that's also something that we provide the community. I also heard that San Marino, their swim program was canceled for this summer. Any insights as to how that might affect our swim program? Have we seen like an increase in swimmers and enrollees in our programs, or spillover effects? What was the reason why they canceled? Was it because of hiring issues, which, what does that mean in terms of our hiring abilities too?
Yeah, so I do not have, this is the first time hearing about their closure. So to my knowledge, it hasn't made an impact on attendance. Based off of attendance rates that we've seen, it's actually not as high as prior years, I think, because we have so many more days than we've had in the last several years. Effective this coming Monday will be the last Monday offered, so it's kind of perfect segue into that. Just due to participation, it's averaging about 15 on Mondays, and then the other days have about 50. Whereas in previous summers, we've hit anywhere between 80 to 100 on those peak times. So that's really what we are gearing up for. So staff reached out to the public information officer today to announce the closure of Mondays effective next week. As in next week will be the last Monday offered for the summer.
For open swim.
For open swim. And then kind of pushing more people to attend the additional days as well.
Do you think it's being affected by ice driving around?
It is possible. We do receive several phone calls, whether it's a class or a program or an event with concerns about that. We've seen it a lot in our picnic rentals. Wanting to cancel for those purposes, and we typically don't receive many cancellations at all.
Right.
And so it is very possible, but there's no evidence to show.
Pasadena
certainty.
canceled all their swimming and all their events at Villa Park for that reason. And when you see the big SUVs and whatever driving around, it is disconcerting and frightening for families because they're targeting parks and swimming pools because they know that's where the parents and the kids are going to be. Did that affect Cinco de Mayo or Numberstown?
Do you want me to address one? Sure, so I'll jump in on that. So the numbers were slightly down, but we didn't have a drastic shift.
Okay.
I don't think that the concerns had hit at that point just
I think
yet
it
as
was before.
strongly.
It was
I think
before they
right
really.
now it's more of a heightened level.
Yeah, I think it was before they really started carpeting San Gabriel and Pasadena, so that's unfortunate. Okay. One more comment
Yes.
for Anna. I loved, I don't know how they pronounce it, but the Topec Aztec dancers. That you have to say it right or they get upset.
Yes.
And you don't call them costumes. I found out that. No. That's wrong. Well, I didn't know what to call them. I'd never seen them before, and I interviewed them for an article.
Oh, how great.
Yeah, and so I couldn't pronounce it, but they said, don't call them costumes, because they They
Right.
said they usually get them from South America, Guatemala, Mexico, and they're very, very expensive. And when you see all those massive feathers, you can understand why. But to watch them was just amazing. So I think that's something I hope that you get them back. A lot of them are local. In fact, one of them said they just live down the street from here, which I kept thinking they were going to say, oh, yeah, I came all the way from Mexico for this. But no, they're just down the street. So I hope that you get them back. That was really a good addition.
Thank you. Yes, they are a great hit. We brought them back from the previous year, and so it's great feedback.
All right, great. Thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
Just one question, not about the after-school program, so going back to the swimming pool. I thought one of the improvements this year was the plumbing. Did we try to get the plumbing sorted out for the swimming pool?
So staff have been making incremental changes as the situations have been arriving, and they made some preventative measures to ensure that we didn't run into the same issues. However, unfortunately, unless there's major renovations, it is possible that we have a repeat of what's happened in the past. But the leadership team is kind of reconvening to see kind of what next steps are in terms of renovations. Obviously, we were really hoping for the Orlop grant, but then when that was put on hold, that kind of threw a wrench into our plans. But I am happy to hear that it has been positive, at least for the summer.
Well, I mean, I am so grateful that San Gabriel has kept the doors open in terms of swimming pool if Pasadena and San Marino are closing their swim programs. And I was actually at the pool today, and there were maybe 2 families, so I can see why, from a cost perspective, may not make sense to continue to offer Mondays at least. But again, it's the Monday after a long holiday weekend. So, but it's either way. I'm just really thankful that the open swim continues for the community up until end of August, I believe. Is that the idea?
I would need to double check the date, but typically we continue until like the week of school starting.
Is it possible to extend it? Because, in San Gabriel, the heat wave continues right through like, mid-October, I want to say. These late summer heat waves, so
Yeah,
I don't know if we have the budget for that.
We can certainly double check. Typically, it hinges on how many students are going back to college at that time, or I should say lifeguards are going back to college at that time. We used to have a majority of our staff that were college students and weren't local, but I believe the majority of our students are like late high school, or excuse me, our lifeguards are late high school, so that might be more feasible this year.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Building on what Commissioner Cabot had mentioned with ice and everything, have we noticed any, I don't know how many events have passed since June, but have we noticed numbers going down?
So we did have a lower enrollment for the most recent summer concert and movie. Again, we can't really say
hard to tell.
why, but it certainly was a much lower attendance than we've received in the past. It was a bit more specific of a performance because our summer series are culturally specific, meaning that we're really enhancing a culture at that time or highlighting a culture. So it's possible that maybe it didn't intrigue every portion of the community, so that could be a reason. So we're still trying to figure out exactly what the reason is as to why the attendance has been lower.
Yeah, and I only ask because I know since we're not going to meet in August and not September, I'm just wondering how the events will be affected, the remaining ones, and I don't know what would San Gabriel do if those cars show up during an event. Like, I don't know if they have some kind of game plan or what they would do.
So we have been in close contact with the police department in terms of next steps, and we've prepared our staff for next steps, especially for if they are at a school site, since it is operated by San Gabriel Unified School District, the site, but then it's a city-run program. So all of those discussions have been happening in terms of how we can ensure the safety of all of the students, but ultimately it is a federal agency, so it wouldn't be something that it would be, two agencies against each other at that point. But we would certainly be doing our due diligence to be sure that everything is as legitimate as that process is taking place.
Now, the police can't interfere. They can be there only, well, to protect ICE, which is unfortunate at times. I shouldn't say that, but they can't interfere. So if they are taking someone off the street, the police do more crowd control than anything, but that's their job. They aren't allowed to interfere, and I know people don't always understand that. I'll be interested to see, I think it's Thursday night, that the Cuban jazz, and he's my all-time favorite. I come every year. But he also has a huge following of Latinos. And I will be there, but I'm not concerned. I mean, I will be concerned about other people. I just hope that we don't have an incident of ICE people trying to come up because the Latino crowd is there, or that Latino people don't even show up would be unfortunate because it's an excellent program. Sadly, it's that we even have to worry about it is very sad. But like you said, your staff has to be aware of it. The police have to be aware. But again, police can't step in. They can't do anything. So I know people get angry at the police. Why didn't you do anything? They can't. They can't.
All right. Anything else? Anyone? All right, so we'll do the discussion of work plan. Commission members to discuss the work plan and determine what items could be added or removed. Adrian, do we have any public comments on the discussion item?
We do not.
All right, the time for public comment on this item is now closed. All right. I think so.
So the work plan is on the very back of it's the last page of the packet.
Oh,
Yeah.
does anyone have anything to add?
I mean, I think if we want to just, for now, we are missing one person, the vice chair, but if we want to target the two items under the current work plan that remain, because,
1 and 2?
Yeah, 1 and 2. So for number 2, in terms of connecting the entire community to enhance quality of life, geographic areas. The city, we've talked about this a couple of times, Marshall Park is not the most ideal space because there are all kinds of entry points to the park. You can't really do crowd control. Parking is an issue. I was thinking, though, this is I get asked about where did I park my bike today. If we could do a bike event in that park, because then you wouldn't have this issue of where do I park my car? You would just bring your scooter, you would bring your moped, e-bike, bike, right? And that's one way to activate that space. Not necessarily, we can also look into Tiny Tots soccer class, but if we don't want to, bring a program there, Tiny Tots would probably operate on a regular basis, week after week. If we just want to have one event there, this could be a way where we can link with nonprofit partners around San Gabriel Valley who are trying to make that type of commute more possible, using bikes and alternative forms of transportation. Is that something that we could think about?
Yeah, we certainly can. There's a very active, no pun intended, organization called Active SGV.
Active SGV, yes.
So we can certainly connect with them. At the July 3rd event, they had a bike display, I think. They called it something else, but so potentially they'd be interested in doing that. We've had them out a couple times in previous years to do bike tune-ups as well. So something relatively simple and wouldn't require a ton of staff time. So we can certainly look into that.
Yeah.
What was that organization called again?
Active SGV.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They're based out in El Monte.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also an event where you could bike from South Pasadena to San Gabriel. That was 2 weeks ago, I think. Really good turnout for that event. I went with my family as well. That was really fun. So if we could maybe do a mini version of that.
Sure.
Not necessarily let's bike throughout San Gabriel, I think that'd be too much money and time and resources spent to organize something like that. But if we could just have people, come out, the community come out and again, like different forms of transportation.
Sure.
And then have some of the bike organizations out there to
Yeah.
talk about e-bikes and cargo bikes and maybe the mobile program that we have here, the micro metro,
Okay.
Something like that.
Instead of biking from town to town, maybe they could just bike from one park to the other here in town.
That'd be great, but is it feasible?
I don't know.
Cost-wise?
I mean, we had some marches where we went from here down to the park, and they just have to block it off, but just do it like from
Victor
Smith Park
Lugo.
down to,
Victor Lugo and then to Marshall.
well, not even do all three, maybe just do two to start out and see what the response is. This is just a suggestion. I don't want your staff to get up in arms and get scared. Because I don't show up at the turkey trot, so I'm not going to tell them they have to do something. But, they could have different stations at the park. For example, at one station, again, I'm tossing a lot out here. Like you said, somebody talk about bikes. Sometimes the police will do something with bikes and they have them checked or something. Check their bike over, check their helmet, make sure it's all working properly. Then go to the next park and actually have maybe some little relays or something with their bikes, because that's a bigger park. And
Park.
just there's a lot that you could do with that. I like your idea.
I think that's a nice way to solve the Marshall Park, where do I park kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because you don't need parking.
The only thing is Marshall Park is kind of far from the other two, so if you're going to bike, that's a big difference, isn't it?
Well, Victor Lugo to Marshall is doable.
Is it?
That's about, what, 3/4 of a mile,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
something like that.
Well, this, again, we're just tossing out ideas, but it would have to be how feasible it is to close off the street for a couple of hours for them to do that, but,
Just one street down and then left, right, from Vincent
You have to close off a section of Valley,
Valley.
oh, that, probably, there you
because
go.
it crosses Valley.
They won't be, that's too much, they won't want to do that. City won't let you do that, I don't think.
Yeah.
That's because that's
Major
such a
artery.
busy, it's much easier to go from Smith down to Vincent Lugo without detracting too much traffic, I think. It'd be safe, and it's a safety precaution. You don't want to be on Valley by any means.
Yeah, you either want to stay up north or south of Valley. You don't
No, just
really
stay
wanna
right
cross.
above one or the
Yeah.
other. Either have it all at Marshall. We might try it out one year at Marshall, and then the next year maybe try the other two parks.
I think that's the thing, we want to try and do it at Marshall because they don't get much
Well,
of
exactly,
anything.
that's
So
why we originally started it, exactly.
the only thing is, isn't it kind of small for a bike event there?
No, it's big enough to host a bike event.
Is it?
We don't have that many people in San Gabriel to be. But there are bike lanes on Del Mar Avenue. So you could take the bike lanes all the way. I don't know if it extends past south of Valley. Do you know?
Unfortunately, I don't know off the top
Probably
of my
not.
head.
Yeah, Valley's such a dangerous street for anybody to be biking on.
Especially Valley and Del Mar. I mean, that.
Yeah, that's just too dangerous.
But I think it'd be nice because then we're kind of like pedestrians take back the streets, and people have to be more aware also in terms of street safety to not do your crazy turns and like look up from your phone when you're driving, especially on Valley and Del Mar, if you're heading towards the 10 freeway. You still have to be aware that people live in these communities and they should slow down. So it would be great if we could do something like what Cheryl had mentioned, Commissioner Cabot, which is go from one park to another, from Smith to Marshall. But I understand if that's not possible because of Valley, then the question becomes, should we just do something in Marshall, just so we can have something at Marshall
Right.
Park, which we haven't done before? Or if it should just be like a bike event, then it would be either Smith or Victor or Vincent Lugo.
Maybe just consider Marshall Bike Event to start out and see what kind of a turnout. And I like your Tiny Tots soccer class, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any traction. We've had that on for almost as long as you've been gone.
Okay.
So this is how long it's been on there.
Oh, okay,
So I
yeah,
don't-
because it wasn't on when we did it.
Yeah,
That's a good idea, okay.
yeah.
I'll be quiet now.
Yeah, we did bring in a new instructor. I believe his name is Matt Wong, who is doing soccer classes. I believe he's doing it at Vincent Lugo Park, though, because that's where he started out before he was even teaching classes with us. So he's the most familiar with that. But we can certainly, this is the first session that he's offered it with us. I believe his class has received positive feedback, so potentially we can add another session over there now that he's kind of gotten the ropes of working with us and working through it.
Oh, so they could just have it at another park?
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be good. what days, or when does he have it? What are the times and stuff he has it?
Unfortunately, I don't know off the top of my head, but I can certainly bring it back at the next
That's
meeting.
okay, don't worry about it.
Is he part of that current company you work with? What, Breakthrough Sports, is it?
No, he's not with Breakthrough Sports. Breakthrough Sports was doing a program with SGUSD this summer,
Okay.
but we brought on Matt Long several months ago and have kind of worked through the process, and so this summer was the first time that we've offered it. He was a completely separate entity from Breakthrough, but he kind of specializes in soccer, whereas Breakthrough is kind of the jack of all trades with more of an emphasis on basketball.
Well, when you come back in the fall, you can give us a report on how well it was. That's
Most definitely.
basically all we need
Yep.
to know, if it was successful or not. Thank you for that.
So just to recap, if we can add on to the work plan, a bike event, either at Marshall Park or another park, emphasis on Marshall Park because we want to be able to connect all geographic areas of the city, and that would tie in with our, the objectives for the previous work plan.
I like the idea of starting one at Marshall and then see what kind of response we get. And
Yeah.
you can always expand it. Okay.
Now that you mentioned the bike event, I was going to ask, are there any other adaptive classes coming up besides the swim, like anything planned afterwards?
No, we don't have anything on the docket right now.
Okay. I only ask. Oh,
Sorry, let me take that back really quick. So there aren't any future programs being offered, but there is one special event, which is the Silent Disco, that is over at Vincent Lugo Park. So that would be the one that's up and coming.
Okay. I only ask because she just brought. I had one of my sons. Their parents reached out to me saying, "Hey, does your son know how to ride a bike?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "There's this company. They use the San Marino Church, and they teach kids how to ride a bike." And I was like, "Oh, that might be a nice, easier path for the city to take to maybe offer and maybe build on the whole bike thing." I don't know what that would entail exactly. Obviously, it's just showing, kids how to ride a bike, but it'd be something simple and not too, you don't have to heavily invest in, I don't believe. I mean, I don't know how the back end works, but just throwing that idea out there as another possible, thing we can do in the city.
So San Marino offers that bike event, or I should say bike program during the summers, and it's private pay.
Yeah, I know. I saw the price. I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
you saw the price, right?
I was like, oh, man.
Well, I like your idea, especially, you work with your son with disabilities. It could be something as simple as just talking to them about stop signs and rules of the road, and you have to have a helmet, and you should do this. It's very simple and basic.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very good idea.
Basic rules of the road and
Sure.
learning how to bike. And
Right.
yeah.
You can always, I know I hate to say, throw this on the policeman, but I do know that they do have classes once in a while regarding bikes. Just have one of their policemen come in and talk to them about rules of the road, if they aren't intimidated by them. If they would be, just have somebody explain.
Oh, I think most of them would think they're cool.
Yeah, there you go. Pretty cool,
so,
probably,
yeah.
yeah. Or there's so many biking organizations, have somebody from one of the bike organizations come and talk to them as well.
Yeah, I'd like to, get the city some credit. So, I mean, I don't know if you know many bike organizations. Maybe the Active SGV has something where you can talk to them, but yeah.
I have a question for Davis. One of the things is explore program offerings for persons with disabilities. Have you done anything besides, I know you were interested in swimming, and if we talk about bikes, did you have anything else that you wanted to include in that?
It's not so much a program, but I'm trying to, and Matthew knows, I reached out to the city of Downey, and they have a, I forgot the exact name of the program, but it's those with disabilities or maybe Alzheimer's or something like that. Or they have two programs. One, they call it Return to Home. So for those with memory loss who might be lost, they'll have them in their system, in the police
Oh, that's
database.
a good idea.
And then they
We
want,
need that soon.
And they have one with those on, who have special needs. You can identify them, so if there's ever a call to a home or they get pulled over, they pull them up on their thing and their information shows up that, hey, use caution. These, do this to, kind of calm them down, and don't do this to trigger, kind of.
I like that. Can you find out more about that?
Oh, no, I do have a lot. I'm just waiting on the police department to get back to me.
Oh, okay.
I know she actually hasn't emailed me back, but I'll follow up. And a side note to that, I wanted to ask because I work with the county, so I know we have to respond to constituents' replies in a timely manner. Does the police department have something like that?
Know that there's a certain requirement in terms of X amount of days or anything like that. But I can certainly prod them a little bit and make sure that they get back
That
to
would
you.
be kind of good. Just in general, I mean, if anyone emails them, kind of give you a few days to get a response, but over a week is kind of like what.
Sure,
I know you saw my email by that time.
sure.
And I only bring that up because when you reach out to the two ladies from the police department, it was over a week. And then I had emailed the other gentleman from First District
I
about
think
the school
Sergeant
bus.
I don't
The whole
remember.
school bus issue.
Yes.
I was emailing him
yes.
directly, and I followed up and this was about a couple months ago. I'm like, hey, school's about to get out, because I wanted police to show up at my location because the cars don't stop for the school bus. Every day, they just.
Or the stop sign that comes out of the bus?
So I emailed him. I'm like, hey, there's a few more weeks left in school. Is anyone, do you have any plans of one person coming by at least one day? And there's been no response. So that's just kind of,
Sure,
I don't know. I don't think it's appropriate.
sure.
I think that, is there a way we can connect with the police department to talk about traffic and just someone patrolling, our streets to make sure that you don't have these crazy drivers who are, it's not even just the school bus.
No,
They should be stopping really behind the school bus and waiting.
No, no.
But they're just, like they're trying to cut off the driver ahead of them by going on a bike lane or going around double yellow lines because they're
then-
not driving fast enough, and even though the person in front of them is driving at speed limit,
Sure,
there
And then-
there are no cops around.
Yeah.
That's the
And
thing.
that social media post for the school bus, I never saw that either.
Okay.
So it's just kind of,
It's like the streets aren't very safe for kids, I think. And for my mom, who is, she walks with a cane, it is really hard for her to cross sometimes, with the amount of traffic there is and the amount of time she gets to cross. It's dangerous, and people are constantly trying to cut her off, and I don't know, it's obviously a budget issue, right? It's only so many cops, right? And overtime's very expensive, so. But is there a way that we can talk more, maybe not the forum for it either, our commission,
yeah,
but, is.
just throwing that out there and see what you can do. But in regards to that, also, I wanted eventually create an event for those on the spectrum or disability, just strictly an event for them, but also get the community aware. So I had spoken to one lady from SEPLA. I went to their autism fest that they had, I guess you want to say, or event, where they had a bunch of vendors where they kind of give the community and those on the spectrum or with disabilities, the resources available to them. And it was actually a large event. It was in El Monte. That's where their headquarters is. But she called me and we had an hour-long chat, and she was just giving me her details. So I don't know if that's something I would have to coordinate with you. But obviously, I don't expect it to be on that large scale. It could start out really small and just kind of test the water or something like
Sure.
that. But
Yeah, if you're able to provide any a website link to the one that was offered or a flyer to the one that was offered, and then we can certainly meet and discuss that further as to, it sounds like it's a resource fair, so that is relatively low cost to
Yeah.
provide, but it does provide, some leading up staff time. Likely you would be working directly with me. We're down a couple full-time staff, so you would be working directly with me in the interim to
Okay.
get that kicked off.
space-wise, that wouldn't be an issue? Would we have something?
It depends what you had in mind. We likely wouldn't do a street closure or anything
Yeah.
for something like that. We've hosted events similar to that, both in the plaza and the Grapevine Lawn. The issues with the Grapevine Lawn is typically that it's less visible from the street for like a drop-in event. But the Playhouse Plaza typically is more feasible. The only caveat with that is, we're taking revenue away from the Mission Playhouse. Because in essence, if you host something in the front, then you can't rent out the indoor space, which is where we get all of the rental revenue from. But we can, look at other creative options as well, depending on, what you have in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll get that information. I have it all written down, so.
Sure. And maybe Marshall Park would be a feasible option as well, depending on, if it's, 15 community resource booths, potentially you're not bringing
Yeah,
in
I mean,
thousands of people.
Yeah, no,
So,
if anything, I prefer just even smaller, just something small, just to test the water and see.
Sure.
And now you reminded me, I wanted to ask if we can, for like the adaptive swim,
mhm.
was there any advertisement specifically for that, or was it just thrown in with the newsletter?
It was included in the newsletter. We didn't do any additional advertising.
Okay, because there was a lot of parents that they didn't know about it.
Okay.
I mean, so I think something like that needs more of a spotlight, maybe
Sure.
a social media post that would be good, but there's a lot of parents that didn't know. Like the one lady that were currently there, I forgot, she just happened to see it when she was trying to register for the normal classes, and she saw it, she's like, oh. And then, some of the parents I've talked to with their kids in the school, they're like, oh, they didn't know, so.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah, we did intentionally not do a major push for the swim classes in specific. If we were offering a resource fair of this kind, we would certainly do a major push like we would do for any other event. But given the very limited number of spaces, we didn't want, to disappoint people by having them be on a very long wait list as they are with the other swim classes. But obviously, when we only had 9 spaces available total, and we weren't sure what the need was, so we didn't want to flood people with the information only for them to realize that there wasn't a space for them.
yeah, this first one would have been probably a bad start because we need to properly identify those. But I
Right,
think going
right.
forward, next year, we can maybe do more of a push because not everyone can get accepted to it.
Definitely.
If we can end up requiring documentation
Yeah.
for that, so.
And we can certainly look at the spring lessons as well, so that way we are having kind of one more time to continue to work and improve before we launch it in summer again as well.
Okay. That's all I had.
Do we know when the new classes will be released in the fall?
For like the general contract classes,
General contract classes, yeah.
I don't, Adrian, do you know by chance off the top of your head?
Registration's usually in August.
In August, okay. Be on the lookout for it then.
Apologies.
No, it's okay.
If I find it, I will let you know.
Do we want to pull some of the other items out from the work plan that are completed and bring it back to the work plan?
I'd make one comment down on completed tasks. We no longer have a HERE commission to partner with, so that can be eliminated.
Yeah.
And I don't know, did you do anything with the Native American and interfaith groups or not? Was that something?
There was a culture fest earlier this year, right?
Oh, that's right.
Are they bringing it
There
back?
was
Are
a
you- are we bringing it-
2024. We offered Culture Fest due to low attendance, which I don't think that it was necessarily what staff did or the type of event. I think it's just a bad time of year for that large of an event because we had the same issue with the Surf's Up event, which was offered at around the same time of year at the same time. So different event, same result. And then in place of that, we're offering the cultural series as part of our Summer in San Gabriel series, where each summer concert and movie is focusing on a different culture. So we've kind of shifted gears for this summer 2025.
So we obviously, have a new registration software system, so we can just take that off the list as well. To the commissioner's point in terms of just cleaning up the completed tasks. And we should bring the youth ambassador program back up to the top, right? But aside from that, I think maybe the survey data too. But
I have a question, I don't know if it's related to this. When you mentioned the registration software, I understand there was some issues with that as far as the 4th of July.
Sure. Yeah, so I can jump into that.
Okay.
And we'll provide a full recap of July 3rd at the October meeting as well. So we do have the new recreation software. So I think that the last time you served on the commission, we had Rec Pro, which there was a lot we could not do with it. And so now we have Civic Rec, which there is a lot more we can do with it, but there obviously still is some limitations. It works really well for our classes. It's solved the issues in terms of being able to allow online registration for swim classes, which people really seem to be enjoying, as well as push day camp registration back online. People have appreciated that as well. But what it does require is a lot of steps. So that's where
That's the glitch.
that was the downside.
yeah.
So it's an upside because we get a lot of data in terms of contact information, where people are, registering from, are they from San Gabriel or Alhambra? But in order just to get a ticket, they had to create an account. They had to make sure that each individual person that they were purchasing a ticket from, their information was in there as well, and then they could check out. So that created a kind of an unintentional barrier. There wasn't an intent to de-incentivize people. However, it was the only other registration option we had. The other option was audience view, which is what we used previously, which is a very quick process because it's what we use for our Playhouse rentals, and no one's going to go through a long process and pay for an event. So that's why it's such a simple process. But it also costs us $1.70 per ticket. So last year we had about 5,000 tickets sold, so 5,000 times $1.70. We didn't want to, front the cost for that again.
That's understandable.
And so given the low enrollment, the call was made to reduce. We had sold, by the time we made the call to remove the pre-registration requirement, we had just over 1,000 tickets sold. And so we released that requirement, and then we landed at about a little over 2,500 people in person at the event.
That's a good number, though, for that space, right?
Yep.
How many people can fit in that space?
The max capacity we had at 5,000. So
Wow.
we could have doubled it, but.
right, so last year was 5,000, this year's 2,500?
So we sold 5,000 tickets. If I remember correctly, the capacity or the attendance last year was about 4,000.
And
Oh,
there's
so
25 this year?
Substantially
Correct.
lower this year then. Yeah, that is,
Again, I don't know that it was strictly the software that withheld
Correct.
people going. There are outside forces in that, unfortunately.
Correct.
And we're learning to have to deal with that. But overall, it turned out okay then, didn't it?
Yes, much smoother than last year. We worked out a lot of the kinks leading up to it, so hopefully we have positive feedback from residents as well, because I think the
Good.
back end definitely went better.
Good enough.
The registration, though, kind of forced them to set it up so they can, register for the future for anything.
right.
All right.
I think we should continue to collect survey data,
To do what?
collect survey data.
Oh,
Number 4, back page. How and.
What was do we have a template for that, for the questions?
Before, we would stand there and,
I know, but what are the questions, or do we need to improve, rewrite
I
them?
think we are trying to improve, well, maybe for the next meeting, if we can get a copy of the survey that we distribute, because I think sort of what I had mentioned before was we should find out if people are coming from outside of San Gabriel, because the current survey form that we handed out in the past didn't ask for where they're coming from, like what's their home base. So if we can maybe just add that to see if we're fully engaging with the San Gabriel community, or are we attracting people from surrounding cities?
Yeah, I think we verbally asked them before we handed them the survey. The majority of them said they weren't from here. I think that was a way of not wanting to really, do a survey.
we draw a lot from other towns on
Yeah.
the big events.
Okay.
If we could just have the commission jump back to the youth ambassador program and decide if you'd like us as staff just to pump out what the commission approved last year with just revised dates, we can certainly do that on our own. Or if you'd like to assign one or two commission members to work with staff and revise it in some way, we can do that as well.
I
So
think it's fine as it was.
You guys do it, right?
Mhm.
I think so.
great.
Got it down, so let them continue. So, since I wasn't here when you had the youth ambassadors, you have two?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay,
Two.
good enough. So they will start in the fall then?
Yes, they would likely start at the October meeting, as you would need some time for interviews.
Right, for them to sign up and have interviews, and you felt it was successful? Everybody felt it was a successful experiment?
Yep.
Okay. Good enough.
If we could have, because we'll have to interview the candidates again, if we could just have a little bit of, like a week in advance notice of what the possible interview dates are, just so we can carve it out of our schedule. I think we were sort of under the gun last year, right, in terms of finding the right date to interview all the
Yeah,
candidates. Yeah.
we'll do that actually before we release everything this year, now that we know that we had some trouble in that area.
You don't have to start from scratch this year. Just, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just use what we had in the past. And then you had the interviews here? Is that what you did?
In
Or
that room. next
Side
door.
room, so it's not so intimidating?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good idea, okay. Well done.
Anything else on the work plan? Anyone else have anything?
Are we continuing where it says next steps, social platforms, departments, et cetera? Is that something we're even concerned about? Do we need to even continue that? I mean, there's so much going on with social media already. I don't ever get on WeChat. That doesn't mean it's not good. I know a lot of people do, but were you wanting to utilize it to let people know about what programs we had? Is that what you were planning?
That's the gist of it, yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have.
Do we publish our events on, Spanish language newspapers and Chinese language newspapers?
I would need to double check with Ileana to confirm who it goes out to, but I'm 99% positive that the list of press outlets that she releases information to are both Spanish-speaking outlets and Mandarin or Cantonese-speaking outlets, or Chinese reading or Spanish reading outlets.
Right, okay.
Okay.
All right. Nothing else for the work plan? We'll move on. Commission reports. Each commissioner may address the Community Services Commission and public on matters of general information and/or concern. This is also time for the commissioners to report on conferences and/or meetings they have attended. Commissioner Gabbett?
Yeah, I did attend a couple things that are of interest. I was invited to a small community meeting week and a half ago. It was last Sunday, a week from Sunday. And it was not a huge gathering. It was put on by, I can't remember the name of the organization. It's a nonprofit. But they invited some community members, Cal Haven, I think it's called, and city council members, and they also invited a policeman from Temple City who is also on the city council. And it was like a really open-ended discussion, which was very informative because that's where we all learned about what the police are allowed to do because of all the situations we have now. And he clarified a lot of things. And then the city council people that were there answered questions. There were a lot of concerns about what's going on now, and they were trying to answer them. Then, after that, we got to go over to see the new karaoke building. Sneak preview, and I'm working on an article on that, but I've got to get some more interviews in place. That place is, have you been in there? I don't like Las Vegas. That's what it reminded me of. But it's huge. I don't know the square footage of that building. You know what I'm talking about? It's across from Blossom Market Hall, that great big long building that used to be a
Oh,
restaurant.
Sure. Yeah.
Been taken over, and they'll be opening soon. It'll be karaoke bars, private karaoke rooms.
The one's been
and a
under
restaurant.
construction forever?
Yeah, it's been under.
saw
they've
the
been
sign,
working on it
uh-huh.
For years, because the place had been neglected for so long. That's the information I'm trying to get. And these two guys, they have another one over, I think, in Culver City, very, very successful. And so we got a sneak peek, a tour. It kind of is sensory overload for me, but I think, I'm sure, I think karaoke will be very popular here with our community. I mean, there'll be a lot of people wanting to do it, especially younger people. I don't even remember how many rooms there are, but they're all private little karaoke rooms, not very big. Each one has a different theme. It's all black marble and massive amounts of neon lights, pink and purple. I mean, I have some pictures here I'll show you afterwards if you want to see them. Yeah, sensory overload. And then they have a restaurant. That, I think, is what's holding them up. They don't have that finished yet. They're working on the restaurant. They're planning a soft opening pretty soon. But so it'll be a restaurant, a bar, and then if you're in your karaoke room, if you order food, it will be delivered by a little robot. Because they're probably the only ones that can find their way around. It's very confusing. Because you've seen how big that building is. It goes on and on and on. Well, 2/3 of it is karaoke rooms. And then the restaurant is over in that one section. So the big thing is, it's going to really add a lot of dimension to the Mission District. That's kind of been the one place that's been sitting there vacant for years and years and basically deteriorating inside, from what I understand. And so it kind of finishes off the Mission District. The other things that maybe need to be redone are smaller businesses, but this was huge. So watch this space, because they'll be opening for soft opening soon, and apparently they're very well-versed in doing this. They know what they're doing. I think it will bring a lot. My concern was the parking. But, yeah, that's the first thing I asked. What about parking? You know, the space next door, the parking lot next door, which is for car share, ride share, they are only there till 5 in the afternoon. And then this business is leasing it for the remainder of the evenings. Right now, they're only open till, I don't know, 1 or 2. They want to stay open till 2, but they have to get permission from the city. So that's a big deal for this area. And I think it will be bringing a lot of revenue into our city, which is what we need. So that was fun. And then yesterday, for the first time, I'm embarrassed to say, I went to Silent Sundays. I'd never been to one. That was fun. Yeah, it was Robin Hood. And yeah, it was the first, and the Wurlitzer organ, amazing. And the fellow that plays the organ, he gave a little talk ahead of time about the organ and also about silent movies and how they evolved and all of it. So it was very entertaining. It was a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend it. I mean, what is it, $13? It's not very expensive for a whole afternoon. It was a lot of fun. So that's all I have to report.
All right, Commissioner Duong?
Yeah. So, you know, one of the parks that's closest to my house is Vincent Lugo Park, so I go there pretty often. It's also an historic park. So just a couple of things that I've noticed. So first, thank you for redoing the parking around that area. I think there were some like water issues before. Hopefully that's been addressed with the new parking. There used to be Wi-Fi in that park for community members who didn't have air conditioning or just wanted to like hang out in the park, which is great. I think that's great for healthy living. There's no Wi-Fi anymore did we take it away because there are cost issues or?
He's like, we
No,
had Wi-Fi?
from my knowledge, it should still be there, so.
should still be there,
I will
okay.
double check with Public Works to get that back up and running.
Okay. I've often the San Gabriel ride, the micro metro that we have, like that driver will often park there. So I'm sure that person would appreciate being able to receive text messages on
Fair.
his phone. And, yeah, so otherwise, Wi-Fi used to be there, and now it's no longer. Second thing is a lot of, so parents are concerned about this one tree. So there's this gigantic tree, it's the biggest tree. Probably it's been around since the park was established, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
It's been
yeah.
red tagged. What happened to that tree?
It is on my list of things to follow up on.
Okay.
Sorry to say, I was unaware that it was kind of tagged to be removed, that one and actually one other tree. And so it looks like Rebecca may have an update.
Okay. I will also say, we think that there is either a hawk or eagle's nest in that large tree. So if we can get some more information about that, that would be good.
Yeah, so we will have to talk with Public Works about that, but the two, I think there were a total of 5 stone pines. The large pines is what you're referring to, I'm guessing. We lost one a couple of years ago, and then there was a large limb that fell from that, large limb that fell, where, if people were walking or sitting near there, they that would not have been a good situation. So they are planning to remove the others because there've been multiple losses, and they've gotten so large that they're just, able to, I think they're very dry as well, and so they just are not in good condition. So John, our Parks Manager and acting Public Works Assistant Director, is an arborist as well, but typically for something like that, they will bring in an outside consultant to provide information on that. So they did tag them, but I believe he's consulted with an outside person on that as well.
Well, the one tree I'm referring to is the one that's right across from the bathroom.
Which bathroom?
The bathroom that's closer to the street,
Okay.
that one. And it provides really good shade. It's the largest tree, I think, in the park, at least in that area of the
Yeah.
park. It provides really good shade. It is a big tree. It doesn't look unhealthy at all.
Okay.
It's an evergreen kind of tree.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to John about those. The ones that I'm referring to are the ones that are to the east of that restroom area, closer to the parking area.
Oh, no, not those, Oh, and they're slated for removal as well, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
No, the one that I'm referring to with the bird's nest is the one that's right by the bathroom, and it looks completely healthy.
And that was red tagged as well?
Yeah, and there's and we weren't really sure because it didn't look like it had beetles in it, didn't look like, it was well-maintained. I can see why you could want to maybe take off some more of the tree limbs so it wouldn't fall and become a liability for the city, right? But, in terms of, already saying, Gabriel, I think we talked about this last time, aren't we considered like a city with very little green space? So we should probably preserve the trees that we have as opposed to taking them down, because it's also very expensive to put in new trees. If eventually you want to put a new tree in there, it's like $10,000, $20,000, right, to put in a mature tree or have it grow from a sapling, which would take forever.
Yeah, I don't have the expertise on that. I do know for those, I think it was 5 trees initially that John was planning to have removed. He did plan on having new trees installed, which obviously would take time to grow, but at the same time, if it's possible that it's going to fall on top of somebody, we would rather have those removed and have new trees. So just with the history of having lost, there's at least 2 now that have fallen, and so
Like the trunk fell over or the branches fell down?
I would have to check back with him. I know that 2 have had to be removed, and I think a large limb has fallen, and then they have to be removed because of that. So we can get more information on that, and as well as the tree. I was not aware of the one that you're referring to closer to the restroom.
I can show you pictures of it afterwards. We took a picture of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just wondering, because again, it provides such good shade.
Yeah.
It'd be such a, a loss, I think, for that park. Otherwise, also went to the July 3rd event, and I did notice that the audience was a little bit slimmer than last time when I met Commissioner Rodriguez there. Brontes, and we had a really good time. I liked the fact that there was a lot more communication, right, in terms of, okay, guys, after the show is over, make sure you wait for the lights to turn back on before you head out to the 3 exits. So I thought that, and in different languages too, so it was a really good way for the commissioners to get involved, for the council members to be involved in that announcement. So they added a a laser component. Did you go, Commissioner, to the July 3rd event? No, you didn't. Okay, so there was a light show, a laser show, and they also, you know, in terms of the drone show was a little bit longer. It was a little bit more elaborate, and it seemed like some of the images they tried to activate it a little bit more. So, you know, like flapping wings as opposed to a moving image. Think of it that way. So it was nice. I would say, you know, if we could push it a little further back, because I think where the drone show was a different location than the previous year, so you kind of had to arch your neck a little bit to see it, and it was like really up in your face, so you might have lost some of the details in terms of being able to see the full picture of it. But otherwise, it was good. We were wondering also why the registration was removed for that event. We just figured it was because of low attendance, so like why bother? You know, like it's a lot of work to have to move everyone through that line to get registration going. But, you know, happy that it went on, that it wasn't canceled. I know a lot of cities were doing that, and I think it was the right move to not cancel the event. All right, but thank you, that was all.
Commissioner Wing?
I would like to mention something that's at Smith Park. You know that the tennis court and the pickleball court, there's a divider fence. This happened about 2 years ago. A gentleman tried to go for a ball, and then he slept. I guess there's a small tree branch was on the ground. He stepped on it and slept, and then he actually flew right into the fence with his face. So I guess at that time, they made a report with the police department, but I don't think Sonia or somebody reported to you or to anybody. I have checked with other park and also other pickleball court, that any kind of divider, especially with chain link fence, and it's about, I guess it's like 3 or 4 feet high, they would put a protector over it on the top. So I think that's something that's been going on at Smith Park, and there, like just the other day, a kid just kind of like tried to, same thing, try to go for a ball, and he went right into it. Good thing that he didn't really, he didn't land on top of the fence. He just kind of ran into the fence. So that would be something that I think would be good to add to Smith Park. You know, just in case, you know, like I say, just prevent any future accidents or any kind of,
Sure.
yeah.
And was
that's
your
all.
thought like a barrier on the top of the fence or on the sides of the fence? Or
It's
both?
actually almost like a noodle thing that you
Okay.
use for swimming pool, but it actually has a more like a plastic that's covered, and you just, I think they are pre-made already.
I
You
think
just,
I know what you're talking
yeah, and then I think all the parks, for example, Arcadia has it, you know, it just any court that has a divider that's not tall, that actually people can run into it. So that's something possible you could look into it.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, Vice Chair Rodriguez is not here. Myself, I have nothing. I'm good. All right, staff comments. Staff members have the opportunity to address the commission and public on matters of general information and/or concern.
So just one update, just to keep you all updated until our next meeting in October, just in case you're reaching out to any of the staff members. So we've had some recent changes in our office. Mei Ling Sui, who was our full-time admin assistant too, she left us a couple of weeks ago and is traveling the world, enjoying her life. And then Jackie Vilvaso, who you met a meeting or two ago, who was our recreation coordinator who did contract classes and middle school sports. She received a new position with another organization. So we're very excited for her new journey. But that means we have a few vacancies in our department. Danielle Adriano, who served as recreation coordinator for our facilities division, is moving back to her passion, which is sports and contract classes. So she'll be filling in Jackie's role permanently. So really our vacancy is in that facilities team right now. So facility rentals, facility maintenance, upkeep, those types of things. And then our admin assistant, full-time admin assistant position is still vacant. The position's flown, but we do have a couple people filling in the interim. And then we still have that permanent part-time admin assistant vacant as well. We are down a few people at the Mission Playhouse as well, but I don't think you've met them yet. So we'll have to bring them over for you to meet. But just then you are aware that those changes are happening. If you need anything facilities related, that would go to Andy Shoup, which is the recreation supervisor, or you're welcome to reach out to myself. If there's something that's, front office operations, Adrian or myself would be a good points of reference for that.
The problem is you train them too well, and then other cities snag them. But that's what's been happening over the years. We're a
those
good
two-
training ground.
Are those two positions going on the government jobs?
Yes, so the full-time admin assistant position was posted and closed in a week. There
wow.
were several hundred applications that were received for
Okay.
it just within that short period of time. The recreation coordinator is already up and is still up and available for applications. And then the permanent part-time admin assistant we've just finished interviews, and so we're in the selection process of getting someone in for that particular role. And then the Playhouse positions will be up shortly.
Were those positions advertised on social media at all?
I don't believe that they were advertised on social media, no. No.
Full-time admin position, is that just for community services?
So all of our admin team serves both Mission Playhouse and community services.
I think that would be good going forward to kind of post those.
Sure.
I followed Alhambra, and they consistently post a lot of their
Okay.
jobs within the cities. Get the residents to go in, maybe easier to keep them.
Sure.
So I don't know.
They move on to bigger cities is what they do. And Gabriel's a great training ground, but then they move on to bigger cities, right? It's been happening over and over. Not that they don't like San Gabriel, just that they get an opportunity to go to a bigger city, and they do. Can't blame them.
I'd love to do IT here. Just drive right down the street. All right. Was that it, Matthew? All right, adjournment. The next regular Community Service Commission meeting will be held on Monday, October 6th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Information regarding matters to be considered at each meeting will be available on the Friday before the Community Services Commission meeting on the city's website at www.sangabrielcity.com. This regular meeting is now adjourned at 7:56 p.m.